In the opening scene, a bunch of foot soldiers attack the notorious corpse deity with nothing but their rusty swords, and they really pay for it. Dozens of soldiers bite the dust against the ruthless monster before the savior, Shagrua Edith Lugrid, aka the Calamity Crusher, shows up to take on the dangerous dude. As soon as he's face to face with the demonic bastard, Shagrua throws everything he's got at him, unleashing his most powerful magic spells and attacks to try and subdue the demon, while the clerics who brought him from the church watch the whole thing go down. As the fight gets intense, the clerics notice the labyrinth getting bigger, and they curse the necromancer for bringing even more dead guys into their world. After hitting the big demon with a ton of sword magic attacks, Shagrua pauses for a second to see what the necromancer's gonna do next. Spotting the opening, the necromancer casts some crazy spell that shocks everyone in the labyrinth. To keep the hero busy, he sends a dragon to take out Shagrua, but wouldn't you know it, Shagrua kills the dragon without even breaking a sweat. Anyway, Shagrua faces his arch enemy and keeps impressing the clerics who are watching the fight from a safe distance. At first, the clerics were worried about the hero cause the necromancer had already summoned an army to protect himself, but Shagrua takes a minute to replay his sad backstory in his head. After offing the second dragon the necromancer sent at him, Shagrua activates his evil eyes and uses them to see the spirits and souls of all the people the necromancers killed. The necromancer sees this and tries to reason with Shagrua, pointing out that they have pretty much the same eyes. But Shagrua doesn't negotiate with terrorists, so he wipes out a chunk of the necromancer's army and keeps killing off every last one of the bastards until he finally uses his last brain cell to crush the rest of the skeletons under some rocks. Now it's just him and the giant necromancer skeleton left, so Shagrua tries to talk some sense into him before they fight. He tells the skeleton to quit being such a jerk, playing with the corpses and souls of the people he's killed, and to turn over a new leaf so he can be a better person. But the necromancer, who's been around for almost a century, knows it's too late for him to change. So, he starts conjuring up new sigils, ones that even Shagrua doesn't recognize, and chanting some incantations for the final showdown. Shagrua gets ready for a serious final attack, and even gets a little help from one of the clerics behind him. When it all comes down to it, Shagrua and his amazing attack magic help him win the fight. Before the necromancer can even blink, he's struggling to remember what just happened. After a few more hazy flashes and visions, the necromancer suddenly wakes up in an alleyway in modern Japan as a teenage high school kid. He's totally confused by his new surroundings, and when he touches his throat, he finds some blood. What happened to me? The necromancer wonders as he walks toward the light at the end of the alley. He gets outside and is completely blown away by how modern and electronic everything is. He can't make sense of what he's seeing, so he just wanders the streets like a lost puppy. What he doesn't know is that the teenage body he's in was just killed by a group of elite mercenary assassins who were hired to get the body back. One of the guys in charge, Takumi, gets worried when he sees the dude they just killed walking around like nothing happened. He sends his drone to check it out and confirm that it's really the high schooler they just off. Takumi is confused, so he cancels the body retrieval and watches the guy with blood on his throat standing around looking lost. Meanwhile, the necromancer, now in the high schooler's body, accepts that he's been reincarnated into another world. Only this time, the world he's in has everlasting peace. While he's trying to think about his old world, two cops show up after noticing him wandering around and hearing him speak Japanese. At first, the necromancer couldn't understand the language, but he kept his cool until he used his magic to figure out what they were saying before answering their questions. Apparently, the cops were worried about the blood on his shirt and wanted to help him out. They ask him for his name, and the necromancer gives them the name of the body's original owner, Polka Shinoyama. Unfortunately, just as the cops were about to help him, a beautiful, weird lady steps on one of them and drags Polka back to the alley where he was. As they rush through the streets, two weirdos who call themselves Erase and Iwa notice the odd thing happening but decide to ignore it and enjoy their day. Back in the alley, the crazy lady introduces herself as Misaki Sakimiya and asks if Polka remembers her. As Polka gets more flashes and visions, Misaki hoists him into the air and shakes him hard. Once she's sure he's really alive, she gets back to the main reason she was there, which is to kill him. While Polka thanks her for saving his life, Misaki pulls out the weapon she used to murder the real Polka before and attacks the necromancer. The necromancer, aka the new Polka, recognizes Misaki from the flashbacks he's been having of her and runs for his life. Meanwhile, Takumi tries to make himself feel better by taking a contract to kill a child. After running for a while, Polka finally finds a place to hide. While he's thinking of a way out of his situation, Misaki catches up to him and attacks him. For the first part of the fight, Polka dodges and blocks all of Misaki's attacks. However, as soon as Polka tries to run away, Misaki stabs his leg with an iron bar. Polka's out of commission for a bit and decides to go on the offensive and take down this bitch attacking him. To do this, he throws one of her knives at her and lures her into the deepest part of the building they're in. Soon, Misaki shows up and tells him some things things about the building. Turns out, that building used to be the Yakuza's execution grounds, and most people stay away from it because too many people have been killed there. Misaki then asks him if he can see the ghosts in the room, and Polka finally uses his evil eyes to get a peek at the dozens of ghosts swarming around the crazy woman coming for his head. After muttering some more gibberish, Misaki goes in for the kill. This time, Polka, aka the Necromancer, already had his magic back and better than before, so he takes his stance and stabs Misaki with one of his huge skeleton hands before pinning her to the wall. He figures this should be punishment enough for her toying with the lives of people around her. While Polka's getting used to his time in the new world, Shagrua and the other clerics are struggling to understand what happened during that last attack. Shagrua was pretty sure he saw the Necromancer's soul, but at the very last second, his evil eyes couldn't track the Necromancer's soul anymore, almost like it vanished into thin air. At the same time, the Necromancer fully wakes up in his new body and thanks Misaki for giving him a new chance at living a peaceful life. He then goes on to mutter some more nonsense, before finally realizing that he accidentally killed Misaki during his last attacks. Every attempt to wake his assassin up was useless, and in time, he became very scared of what might happen next. Before the main story continues, the Necromancer tells us how his sad life began, as one of the rare ones born with evil eyes. Upon noticing that their son was born with such evil eyes, the Necromancer's parents sold him off to the court sorcerers, where he was trained to become a necromancer to fight for the Empire. For years, the Necromancer fought valiantly for the Empire's success, but eventually, politics and greed led to the Empire's downfall. Even after losing his place in the Empire, the Necromancer sought to lead a peaceful life. As such, he resigned his ugly-ass self to live alone in a cave for eternity. As the years passed, the Necromancer noticed some lost kids living in the caves with him and went out of his way to feed them by giving them fruits and meat daily. Although he didn't show his face to them, the kids still appreciated whoever was helping them, and the Necromancer was more than happy to help them out. Eventually, the kids discovered the Necromancer's hiding place and welcomed him with open arms, playing with him whenever they could. Life was good for a while until the stupid humans found out about the kids' relationship with the ugly Necromancer. Unable to accept such a relationship, they caught all the kids, called them defiled and impure, and killed them all to cleanse their land of the evil kids. Upon finding out about the wicked humans' betrayal, the Necromancer avenged the kids by killing off every single one of the bastards who killed them. Once he was done with that, he returned to living his life alone, learning all he could about reincarnation spells. Since he could no longer die of natural causes, he waited centuries for a hero to show up and kill him, so he could finally complete his reincarnation spell and yeet himself out of that cold, cruel world. With the arrival of Shagrua, his mission was completed, and now, he's faced with his first kill in the new world. Now at present, Polka does his best to wake Misaki, but unfortunately, she is long gone. Before doing anything, he has an emotional meltdown over how stupidly overpowered he is, and corrects himself shortly after. In the meantime, Takumi has a hard time accepting what the heck just happened in front of him. He soon receives a call from his employer, Lisa, who asks him why he was taking too long to deliver on the last job. Takumi sends her a video feed of Polka's incident with Misaki, and waits for her response. Meanwhile, Misaki relives her most cherished moments as her life slowly fades away. As it turns out, Misaki wasn't always as crazy as she is now. Born to a loving father and mother, Misaki had always experienced parental love from the start. However, that all changed one night when a serial killer attacked and killed her parents right in front of her. For years, she conditioned her mind to become like serial killers, before finally tracking and killing the bastard who killed her parents. After accomplishing her life's mission, she still wasn't satisfied with life yet. Although she was already working for the organization at the time, Misaki still wanted to know how it felt to kill good people and get away with it. She didn't give a shit about what others had to say about her and instead pushed for jobs that involved killing people she had no beef with. So, surprisingly, she didn't feel a thing and still even wanted more. To achieve that height of success in her life, she realized that she had to kill herself. With this in mind, she hopped onto the ledge of a skyrise building and prepared to jump off and end herself. However, just as she's about to pull it off, Takumi calls her and urges her to get back to finish the job she was sent. Initially, Misaki was shocked to hear that the kid she offed earlier was back up and running, but eventually, she gets her shit together and rushes to finish the job. Before reliving the rest of her memories, she jolts back to life and finds herself lying on the ground close to Polka and Takumi's drone. She asks Polka for an explanation, but then again, Polka was too stunned by her big chest to offer any explanation. Misaki eventually asks Polka to explain how she's alive, but then Polka lets her know that she's been reborn with magic and isn't back to life yet. It's much safer to call her a zombie, as Lisa feels her to confirm that she's dead. So, the question on Misaki's mind right now is, what happened while she was dead? Okay, so, get this. 40 minutes before she was supposed to come back to life, Takumi, the organization's info guy and behind-the-scenes operator, called Lisa and her crew to the spot so they could check things out for themselves. When Lisa gets there, she's floored to see sigils and huge skeleton parts all over the room. She makes sure she's not hallucinating before letting Polka finish whatever he's doing to Misaki's body. Once he's done pumping some magic into Misaki's mortal wound, he turns around and wants to know who's staring him down. Lisa introduces herself and her friends as Misaki's besties, and asks Polka to explain what the heck happened to their dear friend. After explaining how he killed Misaki in the first place, Polka moves on to tell them how he used resurrection magic to patch her up and put her back together. When Lisa and the others hear Polka talking about magic, they freeze up and demand the faker give them proof he was actually using magic. Polka, aka the necromancer, quickly learns the hard way that magic doesn't exist in this world. To save face, he gets rid of the spell sigils and tries to play it off as a mass hallucination. Of course, Lisa knows she's not tripping, so she calls him out and tells him to cut the crap. Polka's response? He summons his attack spells and gets ready to take everyone out. But before things get too violent, Lisa, the idiot leader, asks for some time to think. Polka gives her the time she asked for and checks out the weird weapons her henchmen are carrying. Just as the silence was about to get awkward, they all hear fire sirens blaring outside. Even though they were supposed to respond to the emergency, they decide to stay with their friend. Takumi does a little digging and finds out there's a fire at the Shakuzawa building, a nursery where Yakuza orphans and other kids are taken care of. Polka gets worried when he hears about the kids in danger and asks Lisa to tell him more about the fire, which she does. After hearing enough, he immediately wants to go there so he can save the children. When they ask why he cares so much, he says it's because kids shouldn't have to suffer the same pain he felt from being burned before. Lisa, happy with his answer, has Takumi take him to the building. Polka zips through the streets to get to the Shakuzawa building. Once he's there, he assesses the situation and senses the kid's life force. Before Takumi's drone can even blink, Polka throws himself into the burning room and infuses the souls of their dead parents into skeletons, so the parents can carry their kids to safety. Once he's done, Polka disappears from the media's view and goes back to doing his own thing. Takumi checks the news and sees the skeletons, but before he can react, he decides to take his time to figure out their new friend. He warns Lisa to stay away from the weirdo, but Lisa tells him to get his butt over to that building so they can see Misaki come back to life. With Misaki back on her feet, Polka gets down to business with Lisa to discuss his next goal, achieving true peace. He asks Lisa the best way to get that in this world, and Lisa tells him he needs power and money. Then, she asks him what his motivation is for being there, and Polka tells her he's just looking for a peaceful life wherever he ends up. After hearing him pour his heart out, Lisa is touched and offers to help him. She officially introduces herself as the intermediary for the assassins, and assigns Misaki and Takumi to be his new sidekicks to help him navigate life in modern Tokyo. After understanding his new role, Takumi gets emotional and decides to join Polka downtown. A few days later, Polka, Takumi, and Misaki settle into their new hideout. Misaki chills, watching a video of the skeletons posted online, while Takumi and Polka move their stuff in. During the move, Takumi gets anxious and asks Misaki if it bothers her living with the guy who killed her. Quite the opposite, Misaki's pretty stoked to be living with a weirdo like herself. If anything, she digs Polka's presence and respects him for helping her fulfill her final wish getting killed. Takumi sighs, regretting he asked, but moves on, discussing things with Polka. Polka, however, ignores him and instead thanks him for helping him fit into this weird new world. Takumi freaks out a little, asking if Polka's really okay staying in the torture building. Polka says he's good, but Takumi then asks about the real Polka's family and how he'll stall them indefinitely. Polka says he's already fooled them into thinking the real Polka's on a journey of self-discovery since it's summer vacation back on Earth. To sell it, Polka pulls out postcards, promising to send them to the family every month so they know he's okay. Beyond that, he's drawing a blank because he can't even remember the real Polka's family names. Takumi urges him to try and remember, but Polka just can't because of how the real Polka died. Changing the subject, Polka talks about the similarities between his old world and this one. While he doesn't really care about the similarities, Polka's just glad the Geldwood region doesn't exist here because the discrimination would be too much. Moving on, Polka reveals his old name, the corpse deity, and tells Takumi and Misaki Misaki he has to track down whoever wanted Polka dead in the first place. Takumi suggests asking Lisa, but Polka says she had to keep it secret for security reasons. Even so, he plans to find out himself and only force her to talk as a last resort. Takumi mumbles some more nonsense before heading back to his desk to work. While Misaki goofs around with the toy skeletons, Takumi starts talking about the lemmings but quickly drops the topic to avoid revealing secrets. After that, they discuss the real Polka's soul, which the necromancer merged with one of Takumi's lost drones from the day before. Realizing what's up, Takumi gets suspicious of Polka, trying to paint him as the bad guy for messing with human lives like that. Before he can, though, Misaki gets a visitor and goes outside to see who it is. Turns out, the visitor is an ex-Yakuza member who wants protection for a short time so he doesn't get whacked by a rival gang. After hearing him out, Misaki refuses, but when Polka pops up and accepts the job, Misaki changes her mind. Later that night, Misaki, Polka, and the visitor go to a gang hideout and stake it out until she gets impatient. Eventually, Misaki goes in for the kill, only to be ambushed. Even worse, the so-called visitor was in on it. He shoots her in the back and reveals his true identity. Thinking he's done with Misaki, the visitor turns around to face his worst nightmare and enraged Polka. Polka, having just accepted revenge requests from the souls of the kids those guys killed, tells them that Misaki isn't dead yet, so their revenge mission failed. Then, he gives the kids' souls permission to do whatever they want to the bastards. The souls conjure a giant ball of earth and crush every last one of the gangsters who killed them. Once it's done, Polka the necromancer lets the souls rest in peace. In the next scene, Takumi continues the operation to make Polka, the necromancer, look like the bad guy. This time, though, Polka wins the argument and makes Takumi look like an idiot for trying so hard. Eventually, Takumi realizes that he and Misaki have been scumbags the whole time. They finally drop the conversation, and Takumi goes somewhere private to report to Lisa. After hearing everything that happened, Lisa thanks Takumi for his help and assures him that her men are currently taking care of the few guys who escaped the earlier attack. Meanwhile, Polka and Misaki are seen discussing vampires and turning her into one. After his call, Takumi settles down and nearly pisses his pants when he overhears Misaki and Polka's conversation. Upon answering, the person on the other end tries to get her back on track by killing Polka. This time, Lisa refuses the request and puts her relationship with the client on hold for a while until they get back on their feet. In another part of town, Erase and his partner, Iwa, are seen in a familiar bar doing what they do best, drinking. While Erase tries to beg the security guys to let them off the hook for not paying for their beer, Iwa just sits at the bar chatting with the bartender while he waits for Lisa to show up and do her thing for the night. Back at the safe house, Polka and Takumi discuss Misaki's new powers after her zombification. Apparently, she can now paralyze a person just by biting them, as her spit contains paralytic fluid that can knock even Polka out. Without thinking, Misaki bites Polka to test her powers, and then moves on to bite Takumi when she notices that her powers work on the poor guy. Takumi refuses to let her bite him, and runs away. Up next, two policemen almost find a weirdo trying to break down the ball. Polka and those souls created earlier at the hideout. They only get there to find the remains of the assholes from earlier. Meanwhile, Erase takes care of the bastards he's been begging from, and soon gets called to come investigate the crime scene. Shortly after watching them leave on his monitor, Takumi continues asking Polka random questions about his old world. Polka starts wondering if this world is so different from his, as Misaki boasts about her new powers to paralyze people. Moving on, Takumi talks about the technique the necromancer used to subdue those bastards, and Polka says he only incapacitated them but didn't kill them. At the same time, Iwa and Erase arrive at the crime scene and get ready to study the eerie secrets behind the attack on the hideout. After gathering all the evidence they need to build their case, the two cops head back to the station to brief the new recruits. Turns out, Iwa and Erase are part of an elite investigation squad within the Tokyo police force, dealing with the weirdest cases the regular police can't crack. As the meeting kicks off, Iwa mentions the only 3 criminals they haven't caught yet. 2 of them, the fire-breathing bug and Lemmings, are directly linked to the fire at the children's building and the human knot they found at the hideout the night before. They're currently thinking the fire-breathing bug torched the nursery and Lemmings made the human knot, especially since a footprint found at the scene matches his. When someone on the team asks if the skeletons in the internet videos are real or fake, Iwa's third partner, a woman, calls the guy out and confirms that the skeletons are real. Besides, if they were fake, all those online videos would be useless. Still, they're stumped on how the kids got out of the burning building alive and without any help. To calm everyone down, Iwa assures them that their criminal is just a human, not some sorcerer or fire-breathing monster, so they should relax because they'll catch him like they caught the others. Meanwhile, Polka's busy infusing the real Polka's spirit into a shark plushie so Takumi can get his drone back. Once the ritual's done, he asks the real Polka's soul for a little more time in his body before things go back to normal. As the necromancer and the real Polka finalize their agreement, Misaki bursts into the room and hugs the cute plushie doll. Anyway, Takumi asks Polka why his plushie can't talk yet. Polka explains that he'd need a lot of mana to create a real humanoid vocal cord. Luckily, he's in a building crawling with restless souls and spirits, so harvesting mana shouldn't be a problem. Confused, Takumi asks him to explain, and Polka says he can just suck up the negative feelings of the souls trapped in the building and turn them into mana. As they talk, Polka tells Takumi there's another way to recharge him. When Takumi asks how, Polka says they just need to buy precious stones like diamonds, sapphires, and stuff like that. That'll recharge his mana, and he'll be good to go. Takumi lets Polka finish before dragging him to a jewelry store to see how ridiculously overpriced those stones are in the real world. When Polka sees the prices, he's shocked by how expensive just one stone is in this world. Before leaving, he picks out a stone, buys it for over 3 million yen, and they leave shortly after. On the way home, Misaki asks him why he doesn't just steal the mana from inside the stone, and Polka says it's because that would cause the store owner to lose money. Takumi gets bored of listening to the two teens blabbing about boring stuff, but just when he's about to think of something else to do, his worst nightmare, a race, shows up and snatches one of Takumi's drones. Meanwhile, Iwa and his crew visit Lisa's bar to question her and her employees. After the small talk, Iwa firmly asks Lisa to tell him everything she knows about the previous incidents and her organization's involvement. Since he doesn't have a warrant, Lisa chooses to stay silent. Right after taking down one of Takumi's drones, Erase turns to the two teens behind him and apologizes for scaring them. While Misaki and Polka are trying to understand what's going on, he speaks into the drone, hoping for a response from Takumi. Just then, Polka pipes up and scolds Erase for destroying his friend's drone. Surprised, Erase steps closer to the teenage boy to explain how dangerous Takumi is. He calls the information broker the lowest of the low and urges Polka to be careful of the betrayer. Having heard every insult Erase hurled at Takumi, Polka gets angry and accidentally activates his power, which not only pushes Erase back but also makes him even more curious. After dodging that first blast, Erase becomes super interested in Polka and demands he introduce himself. Takumi immediately sees through Erase's trick, so he warns Polka not to answer or show Erase his powers. Hearing this, Polka stays quiet while Erase keeps scolding him for hanging out with dangerous strangers. Polka answers one of his questions and ends up digging himself in deeper. To keep Erase away, Takumi calls him and tries to get him off Misaki and Polka's trail. While talking to him, the information broker sets up multiple drones in the alleyway and threatens to post embarrassing videos of him harassing the teens online if he doesn't leave them alone. Erase admires Takumi's flair for the dramatic and wishes he could see Polka and Misaki's faces as he reveals the information broker's true nature. With Takumi still on the phone, Erase exposes him as a blabbermouth who would sell out his own allies just to save his skin. Even after hearing all that, Polka refuses to judge Takumi and instead calls Erase the bad guy. Erase notices a change in Polka's vibe, so he gets ready for a fight and becomes careful of what's coming next. What he doesn't know is that Misaki is already behind him, ready to attack. When he finally sees her, it's too late. Misaki kicks him in the gut and runs out of the alley with Polka. After recovering from the kick, Erase follows them, but they're already gone. Eventually, he gives up and leaves the alley, hoping to get to Lisa's bar in time. After their run-in with Erase, Takumi tells Polka that everything Erase said about him earlier was true, so he shouldn't be surprised if he gets betrayed. Polka replies that he's pretty used to snitches by now, so it's not a big deal. Takumi then asks a few more questions about Polka's old world, and he answers them. In the next scene, Erase shows up at the station and asks his female partner, Aikawa, to run the footprint on his stomach through the database. Aikawa is a bit surprised to see a woman's footprint on his belly, but then she realizes it's not surprising since the footprint matches the one they found at the crime scene earlier. Once Erase hears this, he smiles, knowing he's found another person of interest for his new case. During their next meeting, two other random officers from the station are talking about the crazy stuff they've seen lemmings do over the years. The older officer tells the younger ones about the time he saw lemmings Lemmings take down 8 armed guys with machine guns who were all shooting at him. The messed up thing about this criminal is that he didn't even try to dodge the bullets. He just let himself get hit while breaking the necks of every single one of them in that fight. So, fighting and capturing a criminal like Lemmings is really something best left to the pros. Around that time, Iwa is seen drinking himself into a stupor, waiting for Lisa to spill any useful info about any of the 3 psycho criminals currently on the loose. After mumbling a bunch of nonsense for what feels like the 100th time that night, Iwa starts talking about the skeletons in the burning building. From the information he was letting slip, Lisa and the others could tell that Iwa suspected something fishy was going on inside their building. To throw him off Polka's trail, they need to warn the teen not to show up at the bar unannounced. Unfortunately, before they can warn him, Polka and Misaki stroll into the bar. Iwa spots them immediately and warns them about underage drinking, but when he gets a text from Arase describing their new person of interest, aka Misaki, Iwa gets curious and starts asking questions. Meanwhile, Arase and a bunch of goons from the force are secretly heading towards the bar, and Takumi sees them coming. While he's trying to call Lisa to warn her about Arase and his crew, Misaki is making friends with her new buddy Iwa. Polka is also seen enjoying a glass of orange juice when Arase shows up at the bar and walks right in. Misaki recognizes him and calls him a perv for harassing her earlier. Iwa plays along for a bit, then gets serious, stands up, and starts his interrogation. Just as they're about to start questioning the kids, the lights go out, and Polka does everything he can to get Misaki out of there. Before he can do anything, Polka feels a sudden sharp tingle in his throat and looks up at the ceiling to see the horror unfolding. Turns out, Lemmings was in the same room with them, and the aura that the bastard gave off even scared the necromancer for his life. Lemmings takes his sweet time scoping out his targets before attacking. Just before all hell breaks loose, Lisa and the cops try to figure out what Lemmings is planning. Arase, though, gets impatient waiting around while one of their most wanted is standing right there. As the showdown starts, Misaki warns Polka not to underestimate Lemmings. Polka, sensing the dangerous vibe coming off Lemmings, stays on guard. Soon, the whole room erupts in chaos as Lemmings draws first blood, taking out cops left and right before the lights come back on. In the middle of the fight, Arase singles out Lemmings and manages to corner him near the bar. Lemmings, however, ignores Arase for now and focuses on his main target, Misaki. Turns out, Lemmings had somehow snuck into the police office earlier that day to investigate who owned the footprints he found at the crime scene. Once he figured out the footprints belonged to Misaki, he planned this whole attack just to grab her. So, after holding Arase off, he grabs Misaki and gets ready to bolt. Polka tries to save Misaki, who he cares about, but stops himself from going full power to avoid drawing attention. After taking a closer look at his attacker, Polka realizes Lemmings is no longer human. He's surpassed every human in that world and is way stronger than Polka's base level. To avoid suspicion, his only option is to run for his life. Even then, Polka can't bring himself to just leave Misaki. So, he uses his necromancer powers in the dark to attack Lemmings and rescue Misaki. Lisa turns off the candle she lit earlier to give Polka some time to attack and get to Lemmings. Over the next few minutes, Polka throws everything he has at the guy, but nothing works. Eventually, Lemmings recaptures Misaki and pauses the fight to ask her some questions about the jerk attacking him. At first, Misaki refuses to say anything, but then she snaps out of it and tricks Lemmings into letting his guard down while she bites his finger, hoping to paralyze him with her paralytic fluid. Unfortunately, Lemmings' bandages are too tough for her to bite through. Despite that, Misaki still stabs Lemmings in the leg with a fork covered in her saliva. Right after that, Polka steps up to finish off the crazy criminal. He hits Lemmings with one of his strongest necromancer spells and ends the fight right there, and the whole bar area is quiet, with trash everywhere. Iwa and Arase complain about how things went and how unprepared they were for this criminal. Lisa, on the other hand, walks over to calm them down so they don't wreck the place again. Elsewhere, Lemmings is at his boss's office, giving a debrief to the head of the crime syndicate he works for. After reporting what happened at the bar, Lemmings, who can't talk, gets closer to his boss and points to a picture on his table, like he's trying to tell him something. Since he can't speak, the boss does his best to figure out what his best agent is trying to say. Meanwhile, Misaki and Polka are talking with Takumi about Lemmings, the criminal who attacked the bar yesterday, with Takumi calling the crazy mute a silent but deadly assassin who can slip in and out of any building without a trace. Once that conversation is over, Takumi brings up the mana Polka used up to dispel Lemmings the night before, and Polka assures him he's already made it back. After hanging up, Polka thanks Misaki as they're about to cross the street for protecting him from Lemmings back there. Misaki tells him not to worry about it. She was just repaying him for bringing her back to life in the first place. Hearing this, Polka remembers a lesson from his master over a century century ago about helping others and not expecting anything in return. After that quick memory, Polka makes up his mind and humbly asks Misaki, Takumi, and the real Polka to teach him more about this weird world so he doesn't get into trouble again. Later that night, Lemming's boss finds out Polka is still alive. With this new info, he makes new plans to recapture him and, if possible, kill him again. The next day, Polka comes up with a business idea and pitches it to his living buddies. Before getting to the main point, the doofus shows his friends the other tricks he can do with his necromancer skills. To prove it, he possesses Misaki's pen and makes it write some strange things on the paper in front of them. If it works, Polka plans on opening a magic shop to sell possessed things to customers. Takumi, who seems to be the only sane one there, calls his idea BS and tells him to think of another way to make money. Just then, the possessed pen cooks up a brilliant idea and urges Polka to open a fortune-telling business. A week later, Polka manages to rake in 100,000 yen just from telling delusional people what they should eat to find the love of their lives. While counting their earnings for the week, the pen comes up with another brilliant idea to increase their scam and make it go worldwide. They would use Polka's powers to communicate with dead relatives of those who want their fortunes, read and manipulate the spirit into either trolling the greedy bastards or helping them out. Takumi stops right there to remind the pen that Polka is a man of peace, so taking scams and violence too far might affect his mission in their world. The necromancer stops thinking for a moment and decides to share the profits with everybody, including Polka, who didn't do anything to earn the money. As their discussion goes on, Takumi tells the necromancer about the real Polka's secret life as a spoiled rich kid. But before he can finish, the real Polka's nephew and niece, Kazuki and Shizuki, show up to say hi to their long-lost uncle. Fake Polka freezes and does his best to get rid of those pesky kids. He even reveals his nickname from the other world, thinking it'll scare them away. But unfortunately, Kazuki's brain was already working. So, she gets right down to business and urges her uncle to do some fortune-telling about her future. Instead of giving in to the spoiled brat, Polka just tells her to come back the next day. This pisses Kazuki off so much that she calls everyone in the room peasants and warns them not to mess with her. Takumi, who's dealt with classless rich kids before, calls her out on her bullshit and almost gets her to spill her name. Luckily, her men in black bodyguards stopped her from giving away too much information, since they didn't know what Takumi might be up to behind the scenes. Kazuki tries to drag things out, but then Polka gets up and shuts her down before hugging both of them. While he's at it, he sees a ghost begging him to take care of the kids and promises to do what needs to be done before dismissing them. After the weird meeting with the kids, Polka talks to Takumi about it, calling the ghost protective with a hint of crazy. Takumi asks if he can fully trust the ghost, and Polka says it doesn't matter. Moving on, Takumi gives Polka a file containing information on the Shinoyama group and tells him to learn as much as he can about them before he visits the next day. In the file, the necromancer finds out that the real Polka is actually the son of Rosen, the group's current leader, and is also set to inherit a large sum of money if something happens to Rosen. That's when they realized why someone wanted him dead. Since they haven't figured out who it is yet, Polka will be extra careful during his visit. Before the day ends though, Takumi and Polka choose Misaki to be his bodyguard for the next day. That night, the twins meet their awful uncle, Takeru, who also happens to be Lemming's boss. Takeru scolds them for being out late and then asks them about their uncle. They tell him what they know, and Takeru says he's looking forward to seeing Polka the next day. He also warns them to be careful, since they don't know what might happen once Polka shows up at their place. Very late that night, Rosen himself hears news of Polka's return home and is looking forward to seeing his son again. The next day, Polka leaves the base early and arrives at the Shinoyama family mansion on time. When he gets there, he runs into those two brats from yesterday, Kazuki and Shizuki, who give him a warm welcome. Polka notices a ghostly shroud around them, begging for someone to help the kids, but he keeps his mouth shut. Soon after, Takeru, who's also Polka's nephew and the president of Shinoyama Security, shows up to officially welcome him. Before letting him in, Takeru asks Polka about his journey of self-discovery, and Polka says he's over that for now. Then, he asks about Misaki, the young woman next to him. Misaki introduces herself with such class that even Polka, the necromancer, is taken aback. After those awkward introductions, Takeru and the kids lead Polka and Misaki to the mansion's dining room for breakfast and a chat. Takeru starts by asking Misaki about her family business, but she says it's 6 feet under since her parents died before she could take it over. Takeru offers his condolences and apologizes. Meanwhile, Polka thinks back to his meeting with Takumi the night before. Apparently, Takumi wanted Polka to understand the Shinoyama family's weird dynamics and how shady their security company could be. He warned Polka about Takeru, the head of family security, security and told him never to underestimate him. Polka snaps out of his flashback when Kiri, Takeru's wife, comes in to comfort Misaki. Takeru corrects his wife and tells her not to make things worse for Misaki's family. Misaki keeps her composure, leaving Polka feeling out of place. As he tries to stay cool, Kazuki pops up behind him and asks about the weird plushie doll. Just then, Seo, the only unemployed bum in the house, shows up and explains everything about the toy. Turns out, Seo's a shark fanatic, which explains a lot. While she's rambling about sharks, some other random relative says hi and welcomes Polka back. Soon, Polka asks where everyone else is, and the twins tell him most of them are overseas. As they're introducing everyone else in the family, the head honcho himself, Rosen, shows up and tells his son to come talk to him. Before Polka can make a move, the random relative from earlier tries to talk to him, but Rosen shushes him and turns his attention to his prodigal son. After the random relative is out of the way, Polka walks up to his supposed father and calmly apologizes for leaving. Rosen acts normal and invites his son to his study for a private chat. A little after breakfast, the twins are walking down the hallway, disappointed that Rosen was so calm with Polka. They don't realize the ghost is right behind them, begging someone to save them from the fire. Meanwhile, Rosen's having a good time with his son in his private study. Once they're done with the small talk, he gets serious and tells the imposter to reveal himself. At first, Polka tries to play dumb, but Rosen tells him to cut the crap and be serious. By now, Polka has a katana to his throat. With no other choice, he reveals himself, impressed by how perceptive the father is. Rosen continues the conversation by asking if the real Polka is still alive, but before he can answer, the necromancer smells smoke. He gets up and asks Rosen to let him go so he can save the twins from dying. Rosen sees the urgency in his son's eyes, so he lets him leave, and Polka jumps out the window. Right after he's gone, Rosen talks to the assassin hiding in the ceiling, and a few seconds later, an explosion rocks the mansion. In the next scene, a flashback explains what happened the night Kazuki and Shizuki's nanny, Suzuka, died. That day, the kids explored the woods, but then Shizuki dropped her purse, and Suzuka rushed in to get it. There, she found the crazy relative from earlier talking to the fire-breathing bug and made a noise. Realizing they were being watched, the fat bastard stopped his meeting with the criminal and chased Suzuka, who ran back to the mansion to warn everyone. Sadly, the fire-breathing bug caught her and burned her to a crisp. The fat bastard passed it off as an explosion, and Suzuka didn't even realize she was dead until it was too late. Shortly after the explosion, someone showed up to take the twins to safety, and they followed him blindly without checking who he was. At the city's detention center, Iwa and Arase walked to the interrogation room to talk to Phantom Solitaire, a psycho in custody whose real name is Sorimura, or Sori. In the meeting, Iwa wasted time complaining to the criminal before showing a video of skeletons in the burning building. He then asked the criminal to explain what happened there, as the fire was abnormal. Having seen the fire-breathing bug's usual message at crime scenes, Iwa explained his theory to the idiot. Meanwhile, Kazuki and Shizuki realized something was wrong with the guy taking them to safety when they went to unfamiliar places. Unfortunately, the man didn't let them escape, revealing his true nature and preparing to feast. Just as he was about to kill the kids, Misaki showed up and beat him up. Afterward, she assured the spirit she was there to protect the kids. Seconds later, the criminal removed his fake face and recognized Misaki as one of the killers from Lisa. Misaki got the kids out of the room before arguing with the dude with the messed up face. After insulting each other, the criminal attacked Misaki with fire and electricity. Misaki dodged and retaliated when needed. Over the next few minutes, Misaki used her favorite weapon, the rebar, and fought the criminal. The fire spread through the basement, trapping the kids. With nowhere to go, they held hands and promised to apologize to Suzuka when it was over. At the last minute, Polka showed up and saved them. After a pep talk, Polka let them outside, leaving the cleanup to Takeru, who called his killers to handle the perpetrator. Several miles away, Takeru's special forces caught and imprisoned the fat bastard from earlier. After escaping the basement, the fire-breathing bug, wearing a new face, tried to flee. This time, Polka exposed his real identity. Shortly after, Misaki beat him up again. The man kept getting up. Polka offered him a chance to confess and make amends, but the fire breather kept shooting fire from his claws. Polka avoided revealing his true power to the Shinoyama family, which the bastard mistook for weakness. Thankfully, Lemmings showed up and knocked him out, taking him into custody. After his capture, Takeru and his killers tortured the fat relative for opposing the Shinoyama family. Back at the police station, Phantom Solitaire called out Iwa's BS saying the fire-breathing was fake with props for magic. Iwa stayed quiet to think. As the fake fire-breathing criminal was transported to the detention facility, the real fire-breathing bug appeared and burned him from the inside. Thankfully, no officers were hurt as the real fire-breathing bug walked over the bridge. Shortly after the fire, Misaki and fake Polka meet with his father in his room to continue their discussion. Before saying anything else, Polka asks Rosen for some privacy. Impressed by his detection abilities, Rosen empties the room. After that, they continue their discussion, and Polka tells him the truth about his identity and where he's from. At the same time, Takeru is seen in a dark place thanking Lemmings for saving the twins, but then Lemmings lets him know that Polka got there first. As he explains that, Rosen finally understands some of the weird things he's noticed since Polka's arrival. Moving on, he unsheathes his sword, points it at Misaki's throat, and asks to confirm if she really killed his son. When Misaki boldly says yes, Rosen is shocked at how confident she is. He rambles on for a few seconds before the Sharkboard plushies jump out of Polka's neck to protect Misaki the same way the real Polka would have if he were there. This convinces Rosen, so he asks the plushie if he's truly the real Polka. After getting a few nods, the old man just laughs it off and moves on to talk about how absurd the idea was. Eventually, he calms down and presents the fake Polka with a few of his robots that he can possess. Upon checking out the robots, the real Polka calls dibs on one, which kind of surprises everyone. In the end, Rosen lets his son's soul stay with them in the safe house. As for Misaki, he lets her off the hook for saving the twins from the fire earlier. Polka thanks his father for the help and leaves. About 30 minutes after the meeting, Rosen thinks about how it went. He realizes that Misaki is an operative for Lisa, so she's best left alone. Besides, if anyone in the family is coming after Polka, then it's up to him to find out. Moments before leaving the mansion, Polka phones Takumi and fills him in on everything that happened that day. Takumi scolds him for telling Rosen the real truth, but Polka isn't too worried about it. After the call, Misaki holds the plushie and genuinely apologizes for trying to kill him in the first place. To the necromancer's surprise, the plushie was pretty cool with Misaki. Just then, the twins show up to thank Misaki for saving their lives earlier. As for why they acted so coldly to her, the kids tell her they were just scared and didn't want to look weak. Misaki accepts their apologies and urges them to be stronger next time. Then, the kids turn to Polka and thank him too for not giving up on them. Polka also apologizes and advises them to keep living, as that will make their guardian spirit happy. With that said, Polka and Misaki head back home. A few hours later, Iwa and Arase find out about the fire incident with the police car and talk about the real fire-breathing bug in front of Sori. After hearing all he wanted to hear, Sori asks Iwa to show him the skeleton video as he's now more interested in them than ever. Iwa tries to make him trade information for it, but Sori gets fed up and escapes the facility right after turning off the lights. Before Iwa and Arase could realize it, Sori was already long gone. Moments later, Iwa and his partner hold a meeting with the rest of their task force to discuss the escape of the Phantom Solitaire. After laying out the details, one of them asks Iwa to explain how he was able to run away right under their noses. Iwa gets embarrassed and moves on to talk about the delinquent crimes this overgrown baby had committed in the past. Although they couldn't pin any murders on him, Sori, aka the Phantom Solitaire, has always been a thorn in the nation's side. His most famous crime to date was when he abducted the Prime Minister in plain sight and every other important person in the opposing political party just to create a manga out of the whole thing. After making a ton of money from this publicity stunt, the Japanese security system became a laughingstock worldwide. One day, the criminal who was embarrassing everyone suddenly turned himself in. When asked why, he said it was because he wasn't attracting the real magicians and wizards with his stunts. At that point, everybody was shocked at how childish this scumbag was. After watching the lunatic rant and rave about stupid crap, they arrested him and put him behind bars for good. Well, not for long though, as he's now on the loose. Up next, Polka gets a radio for 2,000 yen and brings it home for everyone to listen to. Upon tuning in, they hear some breaking news about the arsonist who was fried to death. As Takumi struggles to pull up some valid info online, another reporter takes over the broadcast to let everyone in Japan know that Soramura, the Phantom Solitaire, has escaped from prison. At the same time, Iwa and Arase see the broadcast on TV and are shocked that Sori was able to get screen time in the first place. Back at the safe house, Takumi explains the true nature of the Phantom Solitaire to his buddies. He calls the childish grown-up an urban myth who somehow managed to make himself popular with the media media. Around that time, the news reporter reveals himself to be the real Phantom Solitaire all along, and warns Japan to expect his stunts in a week. With that, he ends the broadcast and things go back to normal. Iwa and Arase try to figure out how Sori was able to hijack all the TV stations at once. Iwa comes up with a theory and says that the grocer must have helped him out. As it turns out, the grocer is a criminal information broker with answers to almost every logical question asked. Now, the real problem they have to deal with is Sori, who is just like Lisa and can attract troublemakers from far and wide. To deal with someone like him, they will have to be very careful. That night, Sori finally gets to meet the real fire-breathing bug on top of a roof. The real bug, who happens to cover his face with an umbrella, speaks to the deranged Solitaire via phone call. Initially, Sori couldn't understand why the bug would need to call him when they were standing a few feet across from each other. Well, the fire-breathing freak says he's just being cautious. He then asks Sori some questions to figure out what kind of person he is, and Sori lets him know through some demonstrations that he's a person who likes to waste things because he believes that's what makes life worth living. In the next scene, Polka and his friends are chatting about Sori and how famous he is across all the media in Japan. Takumi asks Polka if there was anyone like that back in his world, and Polka says they had Pirawizo, the venomous dragon of destruction, who Shigrua himself eventually took down. Takumi gets interested and tells Polka to keep talking about the creatures from his world. Eventually, they start thinking that his old world and their world might not be so different after all. Back on the roof, Sori keeps dodging all the fire-breathing bugs' attacks, making sure to let the criminal know that he's notorious for being wasteful and that he loves it. Once the fire-breathing bug decides he's heard enough, he starts lecturing Sori on his life philosophies. With his life on the line, the Phantom Solitaire apologizes for being a jerk before explaining how his illusion works. He pops up on the bug's umbrella and says he's disappointed the bug isn't a magical being. The bug replies that he's not into fairy tales. Sori goes on about the new presence in Shinjuku that's causing all these supernatural things, and asks the bug if he's planning to deal with it. The fire-breathing bug says he is, and invites Sori to join the occult. Next up, Polka and his buddies are still talking about dragons and everything about them when they suddenly hear a knock at the door. When they answer it, they find Soya Shinoyama, the unemployed shark lady, and another kid standing there. Surprised, they ask the unemployed lady what she's doing at their safe house, but she doesn't explain. Instead, she just drags her spoiled rich ass into the room and throws her shark-themed sleeping bag on the floor like it's no big deal. When it's time to explain herself, Sayo decides to introduce herself first and explain later. She says her name is Sayo and her assistant is Lei, who's also a butler in training. Takumi introduces himself and the other two to the spoiled brat. Then, Polka asks Sayo why she's there to stay with them, and Sayo says it's because all her shark stuff got burned in the fire. Misaki makes fun of her instead of feeling sorry for her, so Lei steps in to show them a message from Rosen himself. In the video, Rosen explains the situation at the mansion and tells Polka to take care of Sayo and Lei. Before the video ends, he lets Polka know he's got his eye on the building now, but it's just for protection, so Polka shouldn't worry. Polka uses his devil magic and senses a few other people around. He stays calm, but he starts to wonder if Sayo is the one trying to kill him. The next morning, Polka wakes up to Sayo pouting and wanting more sleep. After a boring conversation with her, Polka realizes how lazy and dumb this rich kid is. Eventually, she goes back to sleep, and her so-called butler has to apologize for her. Takumi, who can't stand lazy people, decides to clean up one of the unused rooms and turn it into a bedroom for Sayo and Lei. Sayo wakes up to complain a little more before going back to sleep. Lei, on the other hand, tries to tell them they don't need any special treatment. Then, he starts making breakfast for everyone. Polka asks him why he was chosen as Sayo's assistant, and Lei gives him some BS reason. Then, Polka asks him to tell him what's going on at the mansion. Lei tells him the mansion is crawling with cops right now, so he should stay away until things calm down. Next, Iwa and Arase go to the mansion to investigate the fire from the day before. After they introduce themselves, they meet with Takaru, who totally embarrasses the police by saying they're useless at catching criminals. He points out how dangerous the fire-breathing bug and Phantom Solitaire are to the Shinoyama family, and he asks the police why they haven't caught them yet. Even though they get tons of money from the government, Iwa and Arase just sit there wondering why Takeru's in such a bad mood. After the meeting, they leave and talk about the killers guarding Takeru. Once they figure out how the killers operate, they decide to fight the Shinoyama family if they get the chance. Arase, who's not the brightest, asks Iwa to explain more, and Iwa tells him about Polka and his involvement in the recent crimes. Iwa thinks Polka is behind everything, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to expose him. As they leave, Takeru thinks about how to deal with Iwa. His killers suggest killing him, but Takaru tells them to wait and watch his investigation because he thinks Iwa will eventually reveal Polka's secrets. Plus, they still have to worry about Rosen trying to protect his precious son, so they can deal with Iwa later. Around that time, Polka and the others arrive with the new supplies for Sayo and her butler. Before the day's over, they make sure to set up the other room for their new visitors and see them off to bed when it gets late. Hours later, around midnight, Lei wakes up with a start and listens in on the conversation in Polka and Takumi's room. After that, he gets up and silently creeps up to Polka's door, cursing and calling him an imposter for fooling Rozan into doting on him. Since he doesn't know the truth yet, Lei thinks this fake Polka is an imposter with ulterior motives. Sadly, he was wrong but didn't know it yet. After quickly remembering his last meeting with Rosen, Lei gets ready to take down the pest, leeching off the Shinoyama family. If things go his way, then he'll be able to deal with the real Polka as well, since he's never once respected such a weakling as Rosen's second son. For some context, Lei's origin story is explained, dating back a decade. Back then, Lei lost 4 of his limbs after failing his first job as an assassin, and was going to be used as a mere tool to grow poison fungi his clan of assassins use in their missions. Thankfully, before his piece of shit father could do that to him, Rosen showed up and bought the disabled boy like Batman. You'd think Rosen was being generous, but actually, he only bought the boy to use him as a lab rat in his latest prosthetics experiment. For a while though, Rosen kept the boy and helped him continue training till he was strong enough to become a bodyguard. Now that he's achieved that position, Bro didn't want anything to ruin it. Around that time, Lei, who's still at Polka's door, stands silently and listens in on their conversation inside. He hears Polka talking about a dragon from his homeland called Malfi, and how she married a guard or something. Lei gets pissed off at the yapping and throws a tantrum. However, he stops when he starts hearing strange sounds in the room. Moments later, Polka, who's already sensed that the boy is behind their door, intentionally speaks to let him know that he's aware of his presence. Lei gets the memo and pauses his stakeout for now. The next morning, Iwa holds another meeting to discuss Misaki and Polka. This time, they focus their attention on Polka and all the weird things he's been doing recently. Erase makes his contributions to strengthen the case, and in time, Iwa reveals the location of Polka's new fortune-telling shop. In another part of town, Sori gets noticed by his fans during his stop at a convenience store. He stops for some photos until he gets noticed by the cops and is chased everywhere. Concurrently, Polka and Misaki prepare to open their fortune-telling shop for the day, but just when they're about to begin, Iwa and Arase show up to have their fortunes checked by the so-called Polka, the fortune teller. Their arrival sent chills down everyone's spines, especially Takumi and Iwa. He tells them all to chill out and relax since it's lunchtime. By law, they can't arrest anyone when they're off duty, so it's all good. With that, Iwa asks Arase if he wants his fortune told too. Arase says no, and they all move to the next room to get Iwa's fortune read. Once they're all seated, Iwa whines and teases the kid before asking him to help set him on the right path. After hearing all the nonsense the idiot had to say, Polka activates his magic, which changes his eye color. He then infuses his mana into the orb in front of him and tells Iwa that he can't see the future. All he can do is trace paths and read them to get an idea of what's ahead. Lei, seeing the tricks Polka was using to fool everyone, figures the boy must have seen his share of crap in the past. Regardless, the boy observes the 2 Nimrods who came to get their fortunes read and realizes they might be cops. He takes note of their faces just in case he needs to snitch later. Moving on, Polka keeps using his magic to get a read on Iwa's secret job as a member of the Community Safety Division. Iwa's shocked that Polka's done his homework, but he doesn't think it's magic. Instead, he suggests the boy must be wearing an earpiece under his hood to communicate directly with Takumi to get information. At the same time, Takumi's frantically searching the internet for more information on Iwanome, since he never knew the guy worked for the community. As they go on, Polka reveals Iwa's matchmaking side hustle before talking about a certain emotional wound he's carried from his past. At this point, Iwa gets serious, suspecting something fishy. To lighten the mood, Iwa teases Polka, telling him to explain how he can heal himself from this so-called emotional wound. Things get serious though, when a magic, spirit-infused pen pops out of nowhere and scribbles a few things on paper. Iwa watches carefully, as if waiting for something to happen. Lei notices the same sound he heard from the room the night before, and wonders if Polka was practicing the magic trick then. Suddenly, Iwa loses it after seeing the pen write a symbol he's never told anyone about. Turns out, one of his old friends had told him about the symbol. Before burning it, he'd warned Iwa never to talk about that symbol to anyone, as it could bring problems to the city itself. So how the hell did this ridiculous-looking pen know the symbol? By this point, Iwa's already asking Polka some threatening questions. Polka stays calm and answers them. Eventually, Iwa lets him go, pays him, and walks out of the shop with his partner. Before letting them leave, though, Polka tells them his real nickname, the Corpse Deity, and tells them never to forget that name. Iwa takes note and leaves leaves the room, leaving Lei wondering what the pen wrote on that paper to make Iwa freak out like that. He figures whatever it is must be tied to Polka's secrets, and he's going to find out soon. With this, he offers to go buy dinner for the crew, and Soya lets him leave as long as he buys her some shark stuff on his way back. In the next scene, Arase and Iwa grab some spicy seafood rice and curry at a restaurant before heading back to work. It's quiet at first, but then Iwa gets tired of the silence and tells Arase to talk. Arase asks him to explain what happened back in the fortune-telling room. Iwa says he needs time to think and will tell him everything on the walk back. Arase stays cool and appreciates Iwa getting back to normal. They finish lunch and start walking. Little do they know, Lei is secretly following them, trying to dig up info on Polka and the two of them. Elsewhere in town, two Yakuza goons are trying to crack a safe with something important to their gang inside. Their warehouse is burning down thanks to the fire-breathing bug, but they have to protect this thing. Right as they get the piece of paper, the firebug catches up and roasts them. He leaves his usual message on the wall and dips, leaving the scene to Sori, the Phantom Solitaire. Sori grabs the weird piece of paper and recognizes the symbol that freaked Iwa out earlier. This gives him an idea for his next public spectacle, and he gets right to work. Hours later, after Takumi and the others close up shop, the trio sits down to discuss why Iwa went AWOL earlier. While Polka explains what went down, Iwa's already at Lisa's bar, trying to squeeze information out of her. Turns out, they both knew a guy who exposed dirty cops and went missing 5 years ago. Iwa thinks Lisa is behind his disappearance. Plus, he knows she's connected to Polka, which he finds suspicious. Lisa, seeing right through Iwa's act, plays dumb and asks him to explain. Iwa gets even more annoyed as he tries to explain the connection between Lisa and their mutual friend, Hosorogi. At the same time, Polka admits to knowing the guy and even tells his buddies that the soul he trapped in the pen has a similar name. He's not sure if it's the same person yet. Hearing Hosorogi's name, Lisa gets all nostalgic and asks Iwa why he looks happy and pissed off at the same time. Iwa says it's because he's been playing the clown for too long. Even then, he's mainly mad at Polka for being friends with shady people and thinks Hosorogi recruited him into the community safety division for children. He feels bad for Polka and angry at Hosorogi for dragging innocent people into the messed up parts of their lives. Hearing this, Lisa tells him that she just rents a building to Polka, and that's it. She's not involved in anything he does, but she's not going to miss an opportunity to connect with him. After hearing all that, Iwa warns Lisa to be very careful in her dealings, but then Lisa asks him why he's so sure that Hosorogi is alive. Iwa responds that he knows too much about him for him to be dead. With that, he gets up and leaves the bar after promising to root out the bastards in the police force who forced Hosorogi into hiding. Lei, after hearing the conversation, gets a new lead to investigate the relationship between Hosorogi and Lisa. Back at the safe house, Takumi freaks out when he finds out that Hosorogi used to investigate police corruption and stuff. Turns out the soul trapped in the pen is Hosorogi, and he used to know Iwa and Arase. When asked to provide what it drew on that piece of paper, the pen demanded 1,000,000 yen. Of course, this is outrageous because a soul can't spend money, but then the pen tells Polka why he's demanding to be paid. The case involves one of his regrets. At this point, Polka has no choice but to do what it wants. Next up, Sori visits Grocer in prison to get information on the symbol he recovered from the Yakuza safe house earlier. For the first few minutes, they chat about information exchange and get serious once Sori shows the symbol and asks about its significance. Grocer picks up the piece of paper and starts talking about the price. After a quick origin story about Grocer, Sori notes how powerful Grocer is when dealing with information that could ruin or make great nations. As of now, the only thing Grocer can't trade is people's minds, and he's getting there soon. After giving him a little gift, Sori desperately tries to make Grocer laugh. Sadly, his jokes are boring, so Grocer only offers him 3 wafer sticks as payment for wasting his time. The shameless Sori takes the payment and munches down the wafers before asking Grocer to at least give him a sample of information. Grocer talks for a few seconds before finally revealing one of the strokes on the symbol to be a sword. Hearing this, Sori asks Grocer to tell him how much he has to pay to get that kind of information. With his day fast approaching, the entire city lies and waits for what the bastard plans to do. Soya wakes up at noon and mutters some nonsense before noticing the blimps floating outside. Seconds later, everyone, including Polka, sees the blimps outside. Polka immediately recognizes the symbol on the blimps as one he's seen before. Misaki notices the worried look on his face and asks him why he's so tense. Polka tells her it's because that symbol is the exact insignia of the empire that fell in his old world. Before doing anything, Polka pauses to recall his master's professor's lessons about the Empire's insignia and its creation. After that flashback, Bro wonders how Sori got his hands on a symbol like that, since he thought this world was different from his old one. Minutes after this stunt goes live, information and conspiracy theories explode online. People are wondering what the insignia means or if it's even meant for the public to see. The only thing for sure is that some powerful people don't want this information getting out, so they move fast to take out Sori. Next, Erase and Iwa discuss their next move now that Sori and other criminals know about the symbol. They're pretty sure Sori might be connected to the people who made Hosorogi disappear 5 years ago, so this symbol popping up now must mean Sori and other criminals have him targeted. For now though, they just speculate and try to find proof. A few seconds later, the infirmary granny barges into the office to tell Iwa he's been summoned to Metropolitan Police HQ. Meanwhile, Sori's living the high life, chilling on one of his blimps, reading the newspaper, and watching videos. While he's at it, he remembers the rest of his meeting with the grocer, back when he was charged 3 trillion yen to learn more about the symbol he brought the scammer. Sori had argued about the crazy price the grocer wanted for just a stupid symbol, but once the grocer explains his reasoning, Sori understands why he charged so much. Moving on, Sori decides to figure out the symbol's meaning himself. Still, he plans to pay the grocer for his help after getting a quote for flying blimps around town. Back to the present, Sori's relaxing when suddenly, a sniper bullet from a kilometer away blows his brains out. The snipers, chilling on a skyscraper rooftop, realize they only shot a dummy. The real Sori is hiding somewhere else, and although they're bummed they failed, they keep it together. Moments after the assassination attempt on his life, the real Sori goes live again and hijacks every TV channel in the country. He points out how an organization was able to analyze police information in under an hour and send snipers to a good vantage point to shut him up, all because of a stupid symbol. If someone's willing to commit murder over a symbol, it must be more important than it looks. To figure out the real meaning, Sori puts up a bounty, promising a big reward to whoever cracks the code. After the live stream, Polka and Takumi talk about cleaning up this mess. Sayo shows up and demands to know the real story. Polka tries to brush off her suspicions, but it's too late. Sayo isn't as clueless as they thought. Over the next hour or so, Polka tells her everything he knows, including stuff about his old world, hoping she'll just think it's a fairy tale. Surprisingly, Sayo believes the story simply because she knows the real Polka so well. To stop herself from overthinking, Sayo jumps in the shower to cool off immediately, after promising to keep her mouth shut. Soon after she leaves, Polka asks Takumi for permission to remove some of Sayo's memories of him to keep their secret safe. Takumi asks how he plans to do that, and Polka explains he uses his magic to remove specific memory fragments from people. Hearing this, Takumi gets worried and asks Polka if that's what he did with the goons tangled in the human knot at the beginning. When Polka says yes, Takumi gets scared of him and brings up Misaki. Seconds later, they realize she's missing. Misaki and Sayo return to the living area to discuss their findings with Takumi and Polka. After hearing all the nonsense the two were saying, Takumi calls Sayo out and asks if she was the one who put the hit out on the real Polka in the first place. Well, Sayo gets pissed and tells him she'd never do such a thing without turning said relative into shark food. When she finds out about the real Polka's soul trapped in the plushy Sharkborg, Sayo gets depressed, worried sick over how awkward things are between the necromancer and Polka himself. Eventually, she begs Polka the necromancer to sharkify her and let the real Polka borrow her real body. When Polka refuses, they move on to discuss more pressing issues. For starters, they need to figure out their next move, as they believe a shady organization is behind the use of this symbol. Polka feels the need to punish them for defiling the insignia and using it for evil purposes. Takumi agrees and moves on to plan their next move. Before that, they talk about Sori and try to guess his intentions for making that insignia public. Takumi asks Polka to tell him whether or not someone from his old world came here in the first place. Polka says there's no way he can know, since he's been busy in his old world crafting his reincarnation spell. Over time, they talk about Polka's connection to the skeletons he's been using, and he tells them he freed some of them a long time ago, before he was considered a bad guy. Now that he needs information from them, he feels bad going back and calling on them because he's ashamed to show them the person he's become. At that point, Sayo just tells him to shut up and trust that the ghosts will forgive him for his sins. Polka listens to her advice, and their conversation goes off on a tangent for a few seconds. When they get back on track, Takumi decides to investigate the purpose of the symbol and find out why it's so important. While he's doing that, the possessed pen warns Polka to be careful because the police force is more sinister than he thinks. Next, Iwa arrives at the Metropolitan Police HQ to see the Superintendent General, Jiro Takasu. When he gets to his office, Jiro comments on Iwa's physique and asks if Iwa has the guts to do the hard work and solve the case. Iwa stays silent as Takumi and the others figure out who the Superintendent General is. Hosorogi gives them some more inside information, which makes them even more suspicious of what's going on. Back in the boss's office, Iwa makes his pitch, and Jiro peppers him with disturbing questions about Hosorogi. Iwa reacts calmly, which shocks Jiro, who takes notice. As a final note, he warns Iwa to be careful and keep it together because the next few months will be tough for him. After clarifying some minor details, Jiro talks about their common enemy, Siro. Elsewhere, Siro himself is in a park talking to someone he calls Nanny about hackers trying to break into the police department. Once he gets the information he wants, he realizes that the person is a fortune teller. Sori hangs up and decides to visit this fortune teller to get his fortune read. The very next day, that son of a bitch visits Polka's fortune-telling shop and overhears some random dude vouching for Polka's authenticity to two ladies who are there for the first time. Hearing the guy, Sori gets his hopes up and waits for his turn. Meanwhile, Polka, while getting ready for work, asks Takumi if he's found anything useful about that popular symbol around town. Takumi says he hasn't found anything yet. Hearing their conversation, the Hosorogi-possessed pen goes haywire and scribbles something on the paper in front of them. According to its explanation, the mastermind running this whole crime syndicate is actually a cop. He was investigating them 5 years ago, but they got to him before he could get to them. Takumi and Polka take note of the pen's warnings and go back to what they were doing. In another room, Lei is making breakfast for Sayo while eavesdropping on Polka and Takumi's conversation. He notices the paws and the scribbles on the table, like someone was using a mechanical pencil, and gets increasingly suspicious about what the crooks are up to. Hearing the name Hosorogi a second time in different places, it becomes clearer to him that this person must be crucial to his investigation. Moving on, the pen tells them about his trusted friend on the force, Iwa, to whom he passed his message before he was killed. Although the guy acts a little crazy, he assures them that Iwanome, Arase's partner, has his heart in the right place. At the Metropolitan Police Department, Iwanome holds another meeting with his colleagues to discuss Phantom Solitaire, the latest pain in the ass in town. As he notes down some cliché things about the idiot and his symbol, as well as their next steps, two officers are seen talking smack about him not being fit to be a leader and all that. Arace, who can hear them, keeps his mouth shut and listens to his boss. About an hour after opening his fortune-telling shop, Polka finally gets to meet the disguised Phantom Solitaire. Although he can tell right away that the old man in front of him is Sori, Polka keeps quiet and plays the old fool at his own game. After leading him on, telling him things to further fool him, Polka turns the tables on the dumb Sori, who is already bummed out that he got his hopes up. When it gets down to it, the old man asks Polka if he can provide any information on the symbol that's been going around town. Polka takes a look at the symbol and acts the fool before finally pointing out a fatal flaw in its design. He has Hosorogi's pen draw the original symbol on the paper in front of him and manages to leave Sori feeling intrigued. Finding out about this development, Sori gets so excited that he almost breaks character. The pen warns Polka not to go too far and reveal any more information, and Polka keeps his cool. Just as Sori is about to leave, Polka calls him back and asks him about a girl in pigtails sitting in a wheelchair. Hearing this, Sori freezes because he's never told anybody about that lady before. Polka tells Sori that the girl's soul is already losing its ability to speak, but he's sure that she's not happy with the path he's decided to take in life. Sori thanks him for the warning and leaves the room, shell-shocked. Outside, the man gets intrigued by Polka's secrets and gets even more interested in knowing the person behind the mask and what they can do. As he prepares to leave, Sori notices two weird ladies hanging around the place as they step into the rain to head back home. He notices the raincoat one of them is wearing and notes how similar it is to the fire-breathing bug. If he's right, then the bug also showed up to get his fortune read as well. Right after the meeting with his colleagues, Iwa and Arase get together to discuss the latest update on their pursuit of the Phantom Solitaire, as well as the issue with the current symbol that everyone knows and loves. Arase asks if they can trust anyone at the Force with such a secret, but Iwa warns him to be careful about who he associates with, so they don't end up going into hiding like Hosorogi did. Besides, catching Solitaire will only cause those hiding in the shadows to slip up and expose themselves, so for now, they'll do their job and use the officers at their disposal effectively. As they toast to a new beginning, one of the two jerks who were talking trash about Iwa earlier shows up to provoke him into a pissing contest. Iwa, however, sees through their plan and gives them a piece of his mind in return. Near the end of their argument, the guy almost gets physical with Iwa, which turns out to be a bad idea for him because Arase stops him in his tracks and squeezes the life out of his arm. Even after Iwa saved his butt, the idiot still doesn't shut up. Instead, he moves over to Arase and tries to make him feel guilty about a certain illegal sting operation he spearheaded in the past. Arase tells them that he's already been punished severely for his mistake, but before the guy can say another word, two other high-ranking officers, Yatsu and Danjo, show up to stop any escalating conflict. First, Danjo subtly dislocates the idiot's arm and then helps him pop it back into place. Then, with a smile on his face, he greets Iwa and Erase in his own way. Soon after, Senior Commissioner Habaki shows up to check on everyone on that floor, and Danjo throws them off the scent. After getting those idiots out of the room, the Senior Commissioner asks for an explanation. Iwa takes him to a separate, empty room and explains everything. Hearing this, the Commissioner tells him not to be bothered by those dumbasses, as they were just trying to blow off some steam. Iwa thanks the man for always sticking up for him, even when he doesn't deserve it, and leaves right after promising to make the police force proud. After leaving, Iwa rejoins his other colleagues in the hallway to get right back to work. By nightfall, while reading an update from his investigation, Lei notices movement on their roof and rushes out to investigate. On getting there, he finds the man himself, Sori, ranting like a lunatic as he declares his intentions to check Poka out for himself. Without saying a word, Lei hides behind a corner and throws kunai at the simpleton. Thinking Poka himself was the one who attacked him, the crazy man speaks up and demands that he show himself. Lei pops out of the corner and tells the old man his name. Sori is disappointed to see such a little brat with no importance to his life whatsoever, but he'll take what he can get. Amidst the commotion on the roof, the fake Poka is asleep next to his real Poka plushie. The plushie jolts awake, sensing something off in the room, and looks up to see the familiar fiery writing on the wall, a sign the fire-breathing bug is around. Meanwhile, the fake Poka is sound asleep, dreaming of a memory from his past life. He's chilling in the library with his master when he overhears shouting from another room. Confused, the necromancer he was then tries to investigate, but his master calms him down, urging him to prepare for the Empire's downfall. At the end of his dream, she calls him a child to the end, and warns him to treasure those he loves, as they might not be around for long. Now an enemy of the other world, Polka feels bad for disappointing his master. After a bit of self-pity, His Majesty shows up in his dream to comfort him. Just then, the plushie shakes him awake, and Polka sees the writing on the wall. He gets up to check out the burning smell and realizes the writing is still hot. Before he can do much, he gets a call from an unknown number. He answers, and the voice on the other end asks if he's a bastard child of Sabramon. He's only ever heard that term in his old world, so he's worried someone knows about it. Back on the roof, Sori keeps trying to get a reaction from Lei, but nothing's happening. Lei gets tired of Sori's rambling and moves to incapacitate and capture him. Sori initially underestimates Lei, but after the first attack, he realizes Lei's tougher than he thought. For the next few minutes, Sori tries his best to avoid getting hit by Lei. A few meters away, on top of another building, someone from Takeru's security team calls him to update him on the situation. Having seen video evidence of what's happening, Takeru sends lemmings to the scene to handle Sori and Lei. Meanwhile, the tension rises between Polka and the fire-breathing bug, as Polka gets increasingly concerned about how much the odd man knows. He asks him a few questions about his old world, but the man says he's none the wiser. In between the call, the fire-breathing bug talks with his other self to figure out Polka's true nature. Soon, he begins to question Polka's humanity, asking him to reveal what he truly is. Polka, on the other hand, uses his magic to sense souls around the building, and soon enough, he finds Lei and Sori on the roof, fighting their asses off. After another pause, Sori tries to talk his way out of trouble with Lei. Lei, however, remains pissed at how slow but unpredictable this fool is. Moreover, what's he doing at the building at this time? Is he there for Polka, or does he have an ulterior motive? Well, Lei was about to find out. After mentioning Hosorogi's name, Lei notices the excitement in Sori and makes progress. Sori, however, commends the little boy for proving to be of use to him. He blurts something out and promises to repay Hosorogi later. This makes Lei concerned, as he demands Sori explain further. Sori soon realizes that he's been played for a fool, but he keeps his cool and lies through his teeth to keep his alternate story straight. Lei sees through all the bullshit and wonders if a buffoon like this can pose a threat to the Shinoyama family. Just as round 2's about to begin, Lemmings shows up and immediately destroys the aura in the atmosphere. Lei notices Lemming's arrival and gets concerned about his presence there. He keeps his cool, despite knowing that he's bad news, and asks Sori if he's in cahoots with the mysterious man. Sori keeps yapping to get himself out of trouble, but soon enough, Lemmings decides he's had enough. So, he turns towards Sori and prepares to take him in. Lei sees his chance and attacks him. While the fight occurs, Takeru's henchmen get a little worried about the little guy attacking Lemmings. Takeru, however, assures them not to worry about Lei's safety, as he's made it clear to Lemmings to leave Lei out of the equation. Currently, Lemmings is very obliged to obey his orders, so nothing's happening to Lei. Around that time, Lemmings remembers his orders and walks towards Sori to capture him. Lei feels insulted that he's ignored, so he uses every weapon at his disposal to stop Lemmings. Of course, Lemmings breaks free of Lei's attacks like they were nothing, and continues advancing towards Sori. who makes a desperate attempt to escape his grasp. As he continues yapping for minutes on end, Lei soon realizes that Sori might not be Lemming's friend after all. After hearing enough from Sori for one night, he decides he's going to off both of them just for the sake of his sanity. As round 3 of their big battle is about to kick off, Yatsu and Danja roll up to Polka's safe house and find one of those fire-breathing bug guys just standing there, staring at the building. The duo flags her down for a chat and introduces themselves as police officers. They get right to it, asking what she's doing out on the streets at 3 a.m., and the lady keeps her cool. Meanwhile, the fire-breathing bug hangs up the phone, leaving Polka to let his imagination run wild, wondering what the heck that bug could know about him. After dredging up more bad memories from his old life, Polka the necromancer gets ticked off and decides to teach those who mess with his empire a lesson they won't forget. He takes a beat to size up the situation around his place, and once he's sure everyone's accounted for, he cuts himself and uses his blood to whip up something he calls a netherworld overflow, using a technique his master taught him. Cut to a flashback. Polka's necromancer master, also known as the former Baiadian imperial court sorcerer, Islil Swordflail, is kicking back in the land where the fallen empire used to be. One of her buddies, Romelka, shows up and bores her to tears with endless chatter about dumb stuff. Once Islil's had enough, she shuts the idiot up and goes back to spouting her life philosophy. She remarks on how long it takes some people to grow up, pointing to her apprentice, the current fake Polka, and his weird soft spot for the people he cares about. While Romelka insults Polka for being such a boy, Islil shuts her down and sets her straight, saying Polka isn't just some immature kid. She only calls him that because he lacks his own will and lives for those he loves. So, if any of his loved ones are in danger, he loses it and becomes way stronger than before. Her words come to life that night as Polka traps the whole building in his net. The girl outside notices the change in the air and decides she wants no part of whatever's about to go down. Before bailing though, she acts normal and lies to the cops, Yatsu and Donja, telling them she's looking for her lost dog with her dad. Just then, the other half of the fire-breathing bug, the guy, shows up and plays along perfectly. When the cops ask why she's wearing a raincoat, she says it's so she doesn't get dirty. Satisfied with their story, the cops let them both go. Polka, however, sees right through the act. He knows the girl's true colors because he remembers her being there earlier, asking him about the symbol. To keep his lab rats in check, Polka the necromancer extends his temple's reach to cover a huge chunk of the city. Before doing anything else, he remembers the first time his master told him about this risky technique, including the idea behind it and how to use it right. According to her, if he sets it up correctly, anyone without the evil eyes will have a hard time seeing through his disguise. All they might notice is a slight shift in the atmosphere. Turns out, she's spot on. As Polka gets closer to the roof, he makes his plans to avoid dealing with lemmings head-on, and instead focuses on Lei and that son of a gun, Sori. Plus she gets worried and asks Polka how he plans to avoid suspicion. At that moment, Polka borrows the arms of the souls he's helped in the building and uses them to create an army of invisible arms. Still on the roof, Sori notices the change in the atmosphere and decides to leave before it's too late. He tries attacking Lemmings with a light attack, but Lemmings evades it. As he moves closer to capture Sori, Polka's invisible arms reach out and restrain him for a few seconds. Sori notices the strange things happening in the air around the house and takes advantage of it. Polka decides to take things a step further. He increases the reach of his invisible hands, extending them high into the sky to catch Sori, who is already flying high up. Yatsu and Donja see the criminal from the ground but are too stunned to call it in. During the strange events, one of Takeru's men sent a video to his boss for analysis. Upon seeing the video, Takeru is shocked to see such a thing happening right in his city. Polka continues maintaining his mana to keep his ability active. Sori soon realizes that the fire-breathing bug was using him for some misdirection to talk to the real Polka. For now, he chooses to forgive him since he's in a good mood. As he watches Sori float away to freedom, Polka strengthens his invisible arms and extends as many as he can outside the building to capture both Lemmings and Sori. For minutes, he chases after both of them, but isn't able to capture either in the end. After this waste of time and energy, Polka feels happy to have caught one of the fire-breathing bug's selves, the lady. In another part of town, one of the corrupt cops behind Hozorogi's death logs into the forum of corrupt cops and discusses the next steps with his peers. Having realized the occult power that might be at play from the night's events, the corrupt cops all decide to secure the power for themselves. Iwa and Arase hurry to secure the scene as quickly as possible to maintain control. Lisa is informed of the cops' arrival and prepares to keep things in order. Elsewhere, a man dressed as a servant walks into a dark room to greet a certain lady who seems to be enjoying the recent events in town. After watching the giant hands on her screen, she smiles, anticipating what's about to happen.